let me have to hit record. Okay, so your new listing that you have in Los Baños, it's in a senior community, you were saying, right?
Yeah, kind of
And-
senior slash mixed with residential. It's not like
Okay.
it doesn't have a community center.
But it's more like an active lifestyle
Yes.
for people that are of a certain
55
age.
plus.
Okay,
Yes.
65 plus. And it's only $60 HOA, you said,
For the year.
for the year. What's included with the HOA?
Just the management.
Oh, just the management of it. Okay,
Yeah.
very
But
nice.
they have their CCNRs, no parking in the streets, all that kind of stuff,
And
they
this
have
is the first
those.
listing since the change with the
Yes.
NAR settlement. Okay, so, and your question was, how do I respond to inquiries when people call, right? And they ask you the dreaded question, are you offering compensation?
I mean, is that happening? Or are they just asking? I don't know because I have not yet to see how this goes.
It's a great question. I don't have the answer to that yet either. I have not heard a lot of
Feedback.
feedback yet on if that's the case or not. My listing that closed right after that happened, so it wasn't even an issue in my situation. But the word is to answer. I know EXP stance is answer if somebody does ask you, everything's negotiable. Put it in writing, put it in the contract. That's all I could tell you. Especially if that is exactly what you know. If you know that the seller is willing to, and if the seller said, yeah, tell them that's fine, then you can. But
Yes, we're offering up to a certain amount.
you can, but then think about this. You're also representing your fiduciaries to the seller, right? So if you know your seller will pay 2.5 or 3%, let's pretend the seller is agreeable to paying out 3%, but you tell whoever calls, put whatever you want to ask for yourself or the buyer into the offer, and I will present every offer that comes through. And let's say that the agent writes in 2%. You're not going to say, oh, hey, my seller's willing to pay 3. You are now a hero because you just got a lesser out of pocket for the seller, right? So when you're representing the seller, you definitely want to say, put it in writing. I can tell you everything is negotiable. Just put it in writing. It's all you can. That's probably the best way to answer that question.
Yeah, because I mean, you're
It's
not
safe.
really, I mean, you're not, when you're writing an offer, you're not saying what your terms are, you're putting it in the offer.
Well, now we have to put it in the offer. It used to
Well,
be
yeah, I mean, I'm just saying like, like 15-day close or whatever, you know what I mean?
terms. Yeah. Mhm.
That just comes to us as listing agents to look at
Right.
because we're not talking about it on the phone. I mean,
Right.
just unless you're telling them, we can close in 20 days or whatever, but to disclose
Right.
anything
Or my
else,
seller needs
really,
a rent back. If my seller needs a rent back, then I'm going to let you know, hey, when you write up the offer, my seller needs a rent back. So
right, those
take that
things.
into consideration. Yeah. Things
So
like
is that, I mean, after looking at the internet, obviously the internet can have so much overwhelming things. You hear one thing and you try to stick in your mind that's okay, that's good. I'm gonna stick with that. And then you hear some other stuff and you're like, okay, you feel like you're distorted. Like some people are saying like, well, if I call and you're telling me, write the offer, what if you don't offer us? What if you're not offering us a commission? We're just going to go somewhere else. You're not telling us what you're giving us. Some people are saying, just say what you're giving so that you keep the people. So there's just so much back and forth. I'm sure you see it out there.
I I would not, wow. You know, that is an interesting conversation topic because if an agent called and said, well, just tell me what they're willing or not to do because I will or won't show that property. I mean, you're an agent I don't want to work
That's
with.
steering.
You're an agent I don't want to work with. I'm sorry for your clients,
Yeah,
really. That's too
yeah.
bad that you're not showing them a property that they want to see and you can't, articulate your value to them to get paid one way or the other. So, you know, That's too bad. You should at least try to put something in writing.
Exactly, that's what I feel like we
I would,
should.
I would
try.
try to negotiate with that agent to write an offer if they're so, hungry for the money. Put your hunger in writing, put something in there.
Because
And
all you're doing is going back as countering each other. That's it.
yeah, but what a
What we,
disservice.
what we,
Any agent that says that to another agent, it's a disservice to the client. And I'm
Yeah.
guaranteed if that client knew that that agent wasn't showing them properties just because of that, yeah, they wouldn't want to work with that agent.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I know, we want to follow the rules like we always do. We want to
Mhm.
say the right things. We want to avoid any penalties.
Mhm.
But it's so sad that they're just out there and I'm sure they're being watched.
Yeah.
Those
Well, oh, that
conversations.
reminds me, that is a great segue. You had said be watched. That is something that was talked about in the circles that those meetings that I get to go to with brokers and whatnot. Yeah, the DRE has people out there looking and posing as buyers and sellers and just to try and catch agents messing up now that this is happening. And that's such a scary situation and what a shame. And I just remember the only other time I heard about something like that, where that was the case where DRE would come out, is when there was, it was about the fair housing laws. You couldn't, you're not supposed to discriminate, but they would specifically go to open houses to try and get you to say who lives in the neighborhood, what type of people are there, what type of demographic, or anything to divulge anything remotely, discriminating, and then bam, there you go, there goes your license. you know. So
Yeah.
it's happened before where they say that, or maybe they're not even doing that, but somebody's leaked that word that that's a possibility. The fact that that's even a thought to be a possibility is enough for me to do
All the
everything to be conscientious about what I'm going to say and, do the right thing. Always do the right thing.
So if a buyer reaches out to me and says, "Hey, I want to see the property," that's fine. We don't have to do an agreement for them just to come see the property. It's when we go to write
As long
the
as you're the listing agent, because
yes,
you're
I'm a listing agent.
right, right. However, I would still have those single property um pages available. Like when we
At
had
open house,
at the
right?
open house, I would, and I did when I had my clubhouse open, I printed off like 20 of them just in case.
Mhm.
And my question to everybody coming in was, do you have a realtor you're working with? Do you have something signed by that realtor? Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Or
Oh, okay, so you did do that
yeah,
already.
and if it was a no, it's like, okay, well, I need you to fill this document out. It's the new procedure that we need to do. If you fall in love with this house and you write an offer, the new procedure is that I represent you on this. If
So
you're
that's all well and nice when you have like one coming in at a time, but what if you have multiple people coming in at once? You tell them to make a line?
Yeah, you do. So the good thing, so here's the silver twist on that, silver lining twist on that. If you are lucky enough to be able to situate your table or your sign in close enough to the front door, if there's enough space there, definitely have them make a line, because what does that do for the people that are driving by? Slows down, right? They slow down. They look like, ooh, what's going on there? Ooh, that house is for sale. Oh my gosh, it must be a really nice house. We should go look at the house. Look at all the people that are outside. It just makes people curious. Just like when there's an accident on the road, right? People slow down. So they're going to slow down to see what's the hubbub with all these
Okay.
people lining up outside.
So they're basically, you had the forms there. If they don't have an agent, then they had to fill out a single property form.
Yes. However, so now here's the next question I think Armida might be thinking is, well, what if they just say, yes, I have something signed, which they might, kind of like they do now when they walk into an open house and you ask them, oh, are you working with a realtor? And they just would hand you a card, which could be from the open house that they just came from. All you can do is ask. You can't force them. I mean, yeah.
Well, technically, Christina, shouldn't we have the capacity to ask to verify because it is compliance?
That's
that we
true.
cannot show them a house unless, you know, because if they do have something signed with somebody else, shouldn't they bring them to that open house?
They
Shouldn't
should. They definitely should. Yeah, just like if the shoe was on the other foot, if I have something signed with my buyer, I'm going to every open house with them. But if I'm not, then I'm going to call you, Armida and Manuel, and say, hey, I know you have an open house on Sunday. My client, Jose, is going to come and take a look at it. I would be there, but I have a commitment I can't get out of. This is their name, first name, last name. I'll let them know that I've talked to you. So that way you at least know that this
Or
person, who they said they are.
form be adequate,
What?
or giving them a copy of the form be adequate.
If they have it, yeah, but I guarantee you buyers are not going to make copies of this form to go to open houses. They're just not.
And
But if I have see, that's the other thing. We don't necessarily need to give you the other agent, because what if you're the listing agent and I have that buyer broker form signed by my client? I am not obligated to give you a copy of that form. I'm just not. That's how we are on the flip side. If you're representing the seller here at EXP, we don't care to see that BRBC form.
that
We
has to be
only
presented
care-
with the offer.
we only care, no, now it's taken out. It used to be with the SPBB, it was on there. Now they removed that. It's not on the SPBB. So now if it's in the RPA SPB form, then the SPB form is given. You don't need to supply the BRBC form.
Well,
So
I'm
that's what I have
like-
to show.
If you do have a buyer and you do have that signed form, obviously you want to go with them to go see all these homes. But if for whatever reason you're not able to, I
Mhm.
think even just, are you able to send them an email?
Yeah,
Or-
the agent
no,
or,
no, not the agent, your buyer,
yeah.
or send it to them via text so that they could show, that other person, the seller's agent.
Well, no one is policing this at open houses. That's why I opened it up with, it's just, we're gonna have to take their word. If we ask them if they're working with somebody, they're gonna say yes or no. They might
Okay,
say
so
yes.
that's right now, but January 1st, 2025, it's the law.
Correct.
Until that time,
Right.
things could change. A lot of different things, practices could be implemented between now and then. But until that happens, right now, all we can do is ask,
Okay, right there.
get them to sign it. If they don't have any, they might not know what it is. Somebody who has signed one will probably say, yes, I do. Great. Who's your agent that you're working with? Michelle Vargas. Oh, okay, great. I know Michelle. What company? Or I don't know Michelle. What company is she with? She's with EXP. Okay, great. I'm going to write that down and I'm going to call Michelle and I'm going to say, probably not then and there, but at the end of the day, hey, do you have clients that came through this 123 Main Street? Because they said your name. Some people said your name. I'm not going to give them their name because if Michelle,
Yeah.
she's going to say, oh yeah, they're my client.
So with that long line and people are going one by one, are you telling everybody out loud or explaining one by one, if they have questions about, if they know something about this? I mean, because they're going to want to know more information, as of, August 17th, or do you just have like something out there they could read?
You could do both. You could do either. And it depends. Like Armida was saying, if there's a long line of people or a lot of people coming through, it's like, okay, and if you have, well, of course, right? If there's 20 people there and the first 3 people say, yes, I have one. Yes, I have one. The people in line are going to hear that and say, oh yeah, I have one too. Oh yeah, I have one too.
Yeah, I have one too.
Right
Okay.
now, there's no way we can police it. There just isn't. We
So you're
can't
basically still just letting them come through regardless.
letting them come through.
Just sign in the sign-in sheet like normal.
So let me ask you a question then. Would it be compliant? And I really don't care about the ethics on this, but would it be compliant to say, hey, you know what? You say you have this form signed with your realtor, they didn't show up. Are you happy with their service? Because to me, I mean, there's a thin line between, being compliant and then a double bogey or a double-edged sword, because we can't police it, technically speaking. So, I mean, I'm going to start asking questions then, like, hey, you know what? If you do in fact have that sign, you know, then obviously I can help you. But if you don't have that sign and you don't like the fact that they're not here with you, you know, I'm very flexible with my time. I would be here with you on the weekend because I'm going to establish my name and my reputation.
So there's definitely an ethics code you can't cross, and that's because we are members of NAR, we can't cross that line. We shouldn't, we're not supposed to. Compliance is something different. When it is the law and we have to have them show us proof or of some sort, then that's one thing. Right now, that could be really stepping on somebody's toes, and you don't want to have the association. You don't want to get in trouble with the association, because if that gets back to the agent saying, oh yeah, you know, this agent was trying to see if I would work with them, that agent's going to get mad, hot and bothered, and then they're going to go to the association, report you, and you can go to the grievance committee, and then it could be a thing. So you don't want to just ask those questions. There's ways you can ask, which would be fair. Oh, do you know how long your term is for with that person? Because I've seen some of these for just that day, like literally that one day, or 30 days, or, you know, yeah, we've been writing offers, da, da, da. There's some information when you have conversation with them that you could tell, okay, they probably really do have somebody. But if they are just like, I don't know, I signed a document, I don't know what I signed, that could be, well, you know, you're welcome to take one of my flyers that has my contact information. Here's what I suggest to you. When you go home, go look and find that paper that you signed, because it's important. When you write any contract for real estate, educate them. When you write any contract in real estate, you're going to want to know exactly what you're signing. This is a lot of money that you're dealing with. And now the rules are buyers need to, there's a possibility that buyers are going to have to pay their agent, or it could be a negotiating item that we request of the seller. But now the rules have changed. So you will most likely have to pay a buyer's agent. So you want to know exactly what you're signing and how long you're working with that agent. I'm happy to share information with you if you don't have a signed document with an agent, or if it ends soon, then reach out to me when it ends. I'm happy to see about working with you. There's a way you can phrase it so that way they reach back out. You can let them know I'm interested, but I'm not able to at the moment.
I'm going to give you, you know, superb kudos right now, because that is exactly what I do when somebody asks me an aggressive question like that.
Oh, good.
You know, on the side, and I'm like, no, the rules are this. However, if you phrase it like this, and then so on and so forth, that was masterful.
Oh.
I really enjoyed hearing that way you phrased it.
Yeah, it definitely softens the questions to asking somebody something. You're still asking, but you're just asking in a different type of format, where you don't sound just so, you know, aggressive.
Yeah, everything is about tone.
Correct.
And if you have the right tone as an agent, and you know, and you're just talking straight facts, just like Christina did right now, and that's what she does. She's a broker. You know what I mean? She knows the law. She knows, she's very knowledgeable. Obviously, she's got years of experience. So this definitely helps us speak better, because that's what we want to do.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I really, I'm kind of like imagining myself already kind of like conveying this information to the people.
Yeah.
Because I had that question last week and I didn't ask. I don't know why. Maybe we just had the time or whatever. But I had a situation yesterday, correlating factor, that, you know, I called an agent several times in a 24-hour span from Monday to yesterday. And he finally calls me at the last minute, right before 5 p.m., only to tell me, and only to tell me that they got in contract an hour prior.
Oh, okay.
This morning I went and I looked in the MLS, and it's not changed in the pending, or, you know, in contract, or nothing like that. So I'm just curious, like, should I just create a best practice to send emails when it comes to scheduling an appointment and things like that? Even as being as direct as saying, hey, are you in contract and you just haven't updated the MLS yet? Would that be something you would do, or maybe this is something you can help me rephrase, perhaps?
I think I would. And when you say reach out to, that would be to the agent, right?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, so basically, I mean, we obviously know that there's a lot of agents out there who don't post, the home.
Don't have
Um,
right away.
do post it when they already have somebody that's basically gonna purchase the property.
Right. So, okay, so so they have somebody that's gonna purchase property, or you do? You do.
So yesterday, what happened was we reached out, or Emmanuel reached out to the real estate agent, and there was no, he didn't pick up the phone. So he didn't leave a message, but he went and he texted him, because he would rather leave a text versus a voicemail, because the voicemail could be easily, disregarded or whatnot,
Sure.
or missed.
Unverified.
Yeah, correct. And he didn't reply to him. So this was yes, the day before yesterday, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he replied the next day, but then he replied the next day only to tell him, oh, I already accepted an offer just an hour ago, but we had called the day prior.
And the
Yeah,
morning
he was
of.
probably, and that happens a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
I will say that.
I
That does
mean,
happen a lot. Unfortunately, you can have an itinerary, you could have talked to the agents, and you could have, it's just, you never know. An offer could come in at any time, and it's almost impossible to remember exactly all the agents that called you.
when
Uh,
it's a hot property like that, like
Yeah.
sand is a great example, except there was not a lot of agents. There was more people than there was agents in that situation, but that with that number of people that came through, it would have been easy for me to say, I thought I talked to everybody, but maybe I didn't. That's an unorganized agent on that end. It's not a very, they're either super brand new and not professional, or don't know, or they just don't know, or they're just not professional. But it's the listing agent's responsibility to really do the diligence on the behalf of the seller is to call every single agent that calls them. Even
Yeah,
if
because
it's,
know
yeah, even
what
if you
might
left
be
a message.
off.
Yeah, it's like, sorry, I'm finally just getting back to you. Here's, the information on this property. I have, 10 buyers, or I have 3 agents that say they're going to write, but nothing's come in yet. Transparency is everything. All
That's
you
a good
can
agent.
do- and you're not, but when you're representing the buyer, you are at the mercy of the listing agent. This is why I always say it's better to be a listing agent than it is a buyer's agent, because you have way more control of the situation and you're not out and about everywhere like you are with a buyer. But when you're new, you think you have to work with buyers solely. That's not true. You can work with listing agent.
Yeah.
You can be a listing agent. But as a buyer, all you can do is ask. You can email, you can call, you can text. And Michelle had this situation where the agent didn't respond for 2 days, 3 days. And I had said, you know what? You need to reach out to the broker and you need to say, I'm concerned about agent Susie Q. I've called, texted, and emailed on this property and have not heard one word back from her. Is she alive? Is she okay? I want to make sure she's alive. And then that in of itself was enough to get that broker on the horn. And things started moving right after that, right? And so you have to bring in the
But it's
broker.
very frustrating when they don't
Yeah.
have.
When it's
Yeah,
a hot market or a hot property, expect 24 hours before you hear back at least. But if it's longer than that, I would pull in the broker.
Even if they're on vacation, mine was on vacation in Hawaii, that, you take your laptop, you can work anywhere.
Or leave your business
Or
behind to
an
somebody
email.
else who can handle it. But
Yes.
yeah, no, I would reach out to the broker in that situation.
Okay. Yeah, I think Manuel was just saying, like, is there a way, via email or something, how you would respond to it? But I mean, this one was just one day to another, but I think he already had a buyer in hand.
Well, and then that would be the other thing. I would ask that agent, and I could ask in writing, and for sure over the phone. I might even follow it up in writing after a phone conversation. Hey, per our phone conversation, I just wanted to confirm that you did have a buyer for that property that you got into contract, you mentioned a couple hours ago at this point. I forgot to mention, or I forgot to ask, or I just wanted to confirm that buyer is not being represented by you, or is that somebody being represented from somebody else in your office, or are you like double ending it, or what, right? You want to find out. They're probably going to ignore it. They're not going to answer it. But you might also say, well, I also have an offer. I still want to submit. And
you could be a backup.
they have to submit that
Feels like-
offer to the seller. They have to. Yeah. Because it says right in the contract, the seller might have accepted one offer, but if another offer comes in that meets or exceeds the offer that they just accepted, the seller can try and cancel out of the first offer. They might just say,
Yeah.
hey, we received another offer right now. You know, you're going to really have to do this. And at that point, that's where you could turn yours into that backup offer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if that agent, because you'll come across agents that don't want to do anything, or they'll say, okay, yeah, send it over. And then they never show it to their seller. Well, you definitely want them to have that page on, I think it's page 17, where they present the offer to the seller. And you want that signed. That way you at least can show your client that, yes, I received an offer and it was, presented, but we didn't win. And here's the proof that it was presented. Whether it really was or not, I don't know. We can't prove that. I don't know that the agent could sign it themselves or fill it out. Who knows? It's hard to tell. But you have to do what you can for your client, even if it's following up and trying to put them in backup position.
Yeah, which we have with one of them already, and
Yeah.
that one went through. So
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So it's on the hunt.
So-
again. You're on the hunt again for that one.
Question, what do you think about, you have a listing and you have your sign up, and I saw a couple people I know are putting the riders that say seller is open to buyer's concession up to 3%.
Well, that's up to that agent to do that, for sure. You guys can't do that, or not supposed to do that. So there's that.
Yeah, I just saw that because they said, I mean, as long as it's not in the MLS, they said you can put it on the flyer, right?
Um,
The
oh,
wording.
so that's not EXP's stance on it all. So that's
That's other.
CAR. CAR is more relaxed about it than EXP, but EXP won't stop us from showing a property that has that information on it or anything like that. We just don't want to be the ones saying that, because EXP's stance on it is they think that there's lack for a better word, there's attorneys that are out there just waiting for agents to mess up so there could be more lawsuits, right? And so by them doing this, they're putting themselves out there by talking about percentages when it's supposed to be negotiable. How is it negotiable if it's already stated somewhere in black and white? If you put yourself in the mindset of an attorney, which we're not, but if you have that marketing piece on a 6-foot by 10-foot screen in the middle of a courtroom, how is that going to look? Is that going to look like, no, I was willing to negotiate? Really? Were you? It's like 10 feet tall here and it says 3%. Like, how is that willing to negotiate? It's pretty black and white what you're willing to do. So when you think about things in that regard, which I think EXP might be, they're like, let's just say, put whatever you want in writing. You're safer that way. Why not be more conservative about it than just being very adamant and throwing that out there?
Got it.
If it's somebody else's sign or listing, that's them. I'm not going to say anything about it. I'm not.
You just
If
going.
I happen to
open
have a
up
buyer that wants to see it, great. If I don't, that's okay too. I'm not gonna. And I know there's the whole policing thing about it too. Should we be policing our agents, and should we? Yes, but until all of the dust settles, we really don't know what's going to be okay and what's not going to be okay. So until that happens, I'm not going to be the one to,
Yeah, point fingers. I'm just curious. You see those things out there, like,
Yeah.
Can I
It's
do this
interesting.
more?
Definitely an interesting time for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah. What other questions? We
Mm,
have like 3 minutes left.
Okay. No, we'll see how it goes. I mean, I'll definitely keep you guys all informed on how this all goes next Wednesday. I think we're gonna, it's September 11th next Wednesday. I don't know if that's a good day or a bad day to go on.
Oh.
Yeah, because it's a Memorial Day. I don't know, I'm thinking maybe do it Tuesday, but I like to go on Wednesdays. My personal reason is because then they see it that day, they can plan with their clients Thursday, Friday to come see it during the weekend.
I think it's fine at this point. Yeah, that's fine. The other thing I was going to mention to you guys is Sky Slope has, I don't know if you saw it yet or not, but there's a pre-listing buyer agreement section in Sky Slope. So when you have a buyer agreement, you want to open Sky Slope and put in your buyer broker agreement.
And
There's
that has 8 hours, right?
that one. That's a good question. I would say yes to that. I feel like everything's within 48 hours, but I don't know. We'll get back to you on that one.
Okay. I thought I had read that somewhere and I was telling
Okay.
Manuel, I'm like, not put it in. I'm like, were we supposed to put it in when we had
Well, I'll be honest.
for the 15th?
I'll
Yeah.
be honest with you. I have a listing. I didn't know I had to put it in Sky Slope because I was trying to do my own thing and I just didn't know. So it took me 9 months before I realized, ooh, I better put it in. I haven't received anything yet about it, but that I'm in trouble, but
Well, when it will, wait, did you put it in already?
I just entered it. That's like a couple weeks ago.
And you
The
didn't
mobile
put it
home.
in 9 months? Oh,
I I didn't know. I did all of the stuff on my regular side and I didn't think to
so yeah,
or listen.
you're gonna get one of these probably because we look at the dates. We look at the listing date and
But
we see when it was prepared, when it was signed, and the beginning date and the end date and the SELM. We look at all those dates, and if we look at something that was from 9 months ago and it's just being entered today, why is that? We're gonna make a note about it.
That's okay. They can ask me. Like I said, I'll be honest. I mean, I was trying to do it
Yeah,
myself.
yeah, it's
And,
usually, yeah, you'll be
yeah,
fine.
I go to Sky Slope jail or what, but
Too funny.
I heard rates went down for mobile homes today. I did get a
Nice.
message.
Good. We have less than a minute. Okay, so check rates daily, check headlines daily. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Check out, if you guys don't know already, there's a listing masterclass tomorrow in Workplace or YouTube. I think Holly's doing that again. I'm not sure who's doing it. So
Holly, I think.
check it out if you can. If you can make it on time, do it. Otherwise, check out the YouTube channel and take a listen to that. That should be a good one. I'm looking forward to that. I think it's at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning.
And they have all those in recorded, right?
They do. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Have a super fantastic night.
Yes.
All
Thank
right.
you.
You guys
Yeah.
too.
Thank
right. Bye.
you.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Oops. Let me stop the recording. Boop. Where's my,
No.
oh, stop.